So, on the stage, we have 3 volunteers, or volunteers, I'm not quite sure what happened, that are going to discuss their shops. However, the way this is going to work is we need you lovely folks to ask them questions. This only works if you ask questions. So myself and Peter will be running around with a microphone and helping you to ask your questions. So, a couple of questions for you in a larger sense. How many of you would like a larger shop? Raise your hand. Okay, all right. Relatively most of you.
Good start.
That's a good start. All right. How many of you would like to have a better shop? Oh, about the same. Okay, good. All right.
Jerry. I'm not buying it.
Now, the conversation is, the way we set it up is we've got a small, medium, and large format shop, and we're hoping to kind of answer questions for each of those style of shops. It is not a conversation of which is better, because as already indicated, even Jerry would like a bigger shop. I'm not sure how that's possible. Anyway, although Boeing might have a warehouse soon. You never know. It's possible. So it really does work for your participation. So if you have a question, please ask it. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have each of them do a little, 3-minute presentation on their particular shop, some things they think about or is important to them. Then we're going to go into these particular categories. Main work area, storage challenges, tool storage, wood storage, dust collection, design space, and adaptations. Adaptations is kind of the free-for-all section where they're going to showcase little things that they've done or big things that they've done to make their shop work for them. And I think that's where it would be great for questions throughout all of this, but especially there, because I know a lot of you have different size shops, and we'll actually do a quick survey of that. So let's do a quick survey of that. How many of you have a small shop that is probably, let's say, under 300 square feet? So 1-car garage, let's say. Okay, so about 20% of the audience. How many of you have, let's say, a medium-sized shop, 2-car garage? Okay. All right. And how about a large format shop, let's say over 1,000 square feet, 3 cars and plus? Okay, definitely the smaller group. Okay. So it's going to be interesting as kind of we get into these questions, whether it be dust collection, tool storage, how you kind of work within those parameters. Because obviously we'd want bigger and better, but let's see what we get. All right. So I'm now going to introduce our 3 panelists. Stump the panel. All right, so Lauren, would you please go first? Mike is somewhere. There we go. Wait. He got you wrong there. He was wrong. There we go. Yeah.
Hi, Lauren Steele. Thanks to Barry and Peter, Jerry, and David for pulling things together. Glad to be here. I'm a relatively new woodworker, and I'm in my first shop, probably my last shop as well. And the size of the workshop is dictated by the 3 elements of life, space, time, and money. And my workshop is 4 square feet under the maximum allowed by Ferndale, where I live. So that dictated pretty much how much space I could have. In my career, I've been a facility project manager, planner. I've done space plans for almost every kind of facility you can think of, but not a wood shop. So I didn't know what I was getting into in terms of what tools I really needed, how I was going to lay them out relative to workflow, and so I just took a stab at it, went through all of the catalogs, and made, or got the typical sizes for the different kinds of machines and storage and workbenches and so forth, and just start from scratch relative to the parameter of the space limitation laid down by the city. I'm sorry? And I still want, mostly making small items like the Jerry's boxes. But making boxes, I thought, well, that'll be a good size thing to make, to design, and learn my skill, or develop my skills. If I wanted to, at some point in the future, if I want to do chairs and tables and so forth, I'll have to rethink the workflow and assembly and all of that sort of thing.
Awesome.
So for now, it's okay. I was reminded when I was in the planning stages of this workshop, in the job I retired from, my boss is very cool, and we were talking planning, and she goes, "Lauren, people plan, then God laughs at them." And that's me.
Nice. All right. Our next contestant, David, representing the mid-size shop.
I organized my shop about 10 years ago, just before getting married to Margaret. And when we received a tandem bicycle as a wedding gift, Margaret said, "Oh, isn't this great? You can store it in your shop." The future flashed before my eyes. I saw bicycles, lawnmowers, lawn equipment, boxes full of junk, all piled in my shop. And I thought, it's still the honeymoon. If we're going to lay some ground rules, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
10 years later, there are no bicycles in my shop.
Yeah. Yeah. Power to the people.
And Margaret and I are still married.
That's even better. Awesome.
One of the many choices one has to make when you're constrained by space in your wood shop. You wanted to know what I make. Whatever I want. I mostly stuff in kitchen cabinets, dining room furniture. I just remodeled that.
Representing large shops.
Well, I never had a large shop until I moved here, but when I started woodworking, I didn't have a shop at all. I was still in the Air Force, and I got the privilege of using their wood hobby shop. So when I retired, I realized I had to buy some tools, and so I had a 2-car garage shop in Texas, and that worked out really well. But when we decided to move up here, I said, we got this 10-acre parcel. I'm going to build a shop, a decent shop. And so I got a home computer program from CompUSA where you could design architecture and then render it in 3 dimensions and see how it looked. And I started out with certain dimensions, and then I expanded it and expanded it. And then I built it up here, and then I ended up having to add on to it. Anyway, it's a nice shop, but it's kind of cobbled together. And I make furniture with the leftovers from furniture and cabinets. I make boxes, and I've been teaching this box class for I think 15 years now, and I don't know, I've lost track of how many students, but it's fun. And anyway, I think I'm done buying tools, though. But I still find deals on wood that I can't pass up.
Yeah. That's true.
All right. Excellent. All right, so let's get on to the first category. Our first category is going to be main work area. Now, up on the slides, we have obviously different style formats for different people doing different things. So we've got a large shop,
Yeah. Workbench is his outfeed table. I share that.
I am actually going to fast forward something because I think
I don't know if you need it.
I have a particular opinion about this. And I think I'm engaged in it. Go forward fast. And go sorry, very quickly go off the page here. And that, what? My is to, there we go. So, your workbench is your outfit table. How long is this? Would you like to explain?
One way to save space is to take things that take a lot of space and make them multifunctional. So I love the idea of an outfeed table being a workbench. My outfeed table is not a workbench, but it's, go back a slide so you can actually see that. Right there, that's a good, there is the outfeed table. It's a torsion box, it's a flat, which means it can do double duty. What happened? It can do double duty as an assembly table, and I use it for finishing, and I use it for storage. So you can see I've got all my table saw supplies on one side. I've got all my router supplies someplace else. It's not shown here. I've got all my jigs in the back, upper left, and all my finishing supplies all on the outfeed table. And I sometimes clamp that, when I teach a class, that benchtop bench I sometimes clamp to the outfeed table so I can use it as a workbench. So I don't think there's anything wrong with using your outfeed table for multiple functions.
How many people in the room? How people? So how many people actually own a dedicated work type bench like the middle and right hand image there? And is that the basis of your shop? Is that the command central? Because I've had those over the years, but I like David. I use my outfeed table. It's way bigger. The stuff I mess around with, I've got clamps. I don't necessarily need dogs. Any thoughts? Is anybody going to sing the praises of the workbench?
Yeah, I do a lot of hand tool work, and there's septic.
Yeah.
Playing wood and chiseling and only on the workbench. The other one is iron up. And I use a softwood, an adjustable height softwood that's outfeed table. I have two of them, so if I want to do something long, I can move it to the middle of the wood and have it easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can see for hand planing and stuff, and many of you guys have got real collections of hand planes. Myself, and I've been woodworking for years and years, I've got 4 hand planes, and that's what I use, and they're fine, and I don't need any more. Tom? Okay. I know you have them for a lot of students and stuff. But, and you yourself? Okay.
Question here?
I was just going to offer that I have a workbench somewhat similar to like what David is showing there. But my challenge is when I'm building, I do a lot of furniture. And so I need a very flat, fairly large surface to actually do the construction. And so what I do is I set up 2 sawhorses. I set up 2 sawhorses in the garage, and I have a hollow core door that has a 3/4 inch MDF board glued and screwed to it to give me a dead solid, inexpensive, flat surface. And then when I'm done with whatever I'm building, sawhorses fold up, go away, the board goes up one end and gets stacked against the wall.
I'm going to pose that question to Lauren. Obviously, you've got the smaller format shop. How does it kind of work for you to do work? Do you bring out certain tools and have to put them away? Do you do it on the table saw? How do you prep?
I adjust my shop to fit the project at hand. Everything in my shop is movable. Only the main workbench, kind of a conventional wooden bench, does not have casters on it, but if I need to drag it out, I can do it. So I push and pull things around to suit my needs. And just like David, and I have a shot of one of the work areas. I have the main workbench, the conventional with a leg vise, and I have two tables on casters that are storage and work surface. And then I have I call it a sanding table, but I use it for all sorts of things besides, in addition to sanding. Let's see here. Yeah, so the shot on the left there, that is really two tables. You can see the casters, and the work surface height is just right for outfeed table, and the jointer, and I have another table almost just like this, has the planer on it, and they're benchtop planer and joiner, but I didn't want to dedicate floor space to a benchtop tool, and so I made these tables so that you can see it about halfway up on the legs of the table. There are toggles, and I loosen those toggles and lift the top surface off and just set it on the floor or elsewhere out of the way, and then that makes the joiner available for use. And then I try and plan my work, so if I have a lot of joining and planing to do, I'll try and do it in one effort.
Yeah.
And then when I'm finished, I put that tabletop back on top of the lower section. So I have, it rolls, it has storage on the bottom, it has the benchtop joiner on the middle surface, and a work surface on top of that. So I have so I have about 4 or 5 workstations in my shop, and I can push them around to do whatever I want.
Do you divide that table frequently?
Only when I know that I'm going to do or need to do some joining and planing. So if I had to do it frequently every day, I'd go crazy. So planning ahead makes sense.
It kind of leads me into a question that
Go ahead and ask the question. And we'll go to
that I asked David at dinner. Downdraft tables. How much do you use them? He says rarely, if ever.
So
And you have
we got a picture of one, I think.
You've got a modification of one.
Yeah.
Do you guys use downdraft tables?
Oh, back.
How many, show of hands, how many people even have them? Like just, okay, Jim, you're one. Do you use it? Yeah. It's one of those things that seems like a great idea, and it really doesn't work very well.
Back one.
So it's up at the top in the center, but I thought you had a single shot of it.
Nope, that's the only one I got.
So I had a downdraft table a long time ago, and it had a whole house squirrel cage fan, HVAC, and Andrew has it now. But anyway, this downdraft table does quadruple duty. There's storage down below, and I made a slide-out storage rack for lightweight flat things. And then I put a drum sander on it, and that's screwed down to the top. And then the other part of the table, it has is more of a cavity for the airflow for the downdraft. and I can put my scroll saw, a belt sander. Oh, I have a small benchtop table saw that goes on there, and they're stored off to the side on a shelf that's about the same height as the table, so no heavy lifting to move those around. And I connect my dust duct, flexible duct to the table, and it works a lot better than I thought it would, so I'm kind of dependent on that.
So you do use it.
Yeah, I use it
With,
almost every day.
with your small format, do you have the ability, or is it easy for you to bring all of those kind of separate components and tables outside if you need extra room?
That was another limitation of the slope of my backyard. I couldn't get the floor surface even with the concrete patio. And that was my dream, to just wheel stuff out the door onto the patio. But I do have a couple of stoops or front porches, probably 4 by 6 in front of each door. And so like on the joiner and the planer and things that make a lot of messy dust, I just wheel them out through the door and fire it up. And occasionally I don't even put the filter bag on it or try and collect the dust. I just let it blow into the garden.
Because here in Washington, we have, sunny weather and clear day. Good. Sorry, you had a question?
I wasn't clear what the toggling bolts do, and the joiner just stays there, don't break, it's plugged in and hooked up.
Well, I don't leave it plugged in. The joiner? Oh yeah, the joiner is a Grizzly benchtop, a 6-inch, pretty common thing. And I plug it in only when I'm going to use it. And the toggle, there's basically 2 tables. One is about that high, and the other. So the legs.
Right.
Legs go on the corners of the base, and I put little cleats in there so it wouldn't slide off. And then I put the toggles on it so I could grab the top surface and push and pull, and it wouldn't fall off of the base.
Is that a one-man operation?
How heavy is it? Is it easy to move by one person?
I can do it now.
Well, we'll see how long that lasts. All right. Okay. Any other questions on main work area?
Yeah, let's go into dust collection.
Okay. Actually, dust collection isn't for a bit, but we can go to dust collection. I'm flexible. There we go. Dust collection.
Let's start with Jerry, who's got probably the most elaborate and
and actually a better
Waste space. I squandered it. Well, I had the luxury of making this shop from scratch, but I had no clue where I was going to put the machines, and I kind of had an idea, and I sent this plan off to Oneida, and they send you a plan back with how much ductwork you need and what diameter, and so I said, well, they must know what they're doing. So I went ahead and bought their system and then ended up adding to it later. But they were actually pretty helpful in providing the right kind of diameters and extensions, because if you don't do it correctly, then you can't reach something in the far end of the shop. So it has to stage down from a larger diameter to a smaller diameter as farther away from the cyclone or the system you go. Anyway,
Could you design it yourself now, or would you still use their help?
I think I would use their help, but I think I could probably do my own now if I was building another shop, but I don't plan on doing that. The thing that, for dust collection for me, is the biggest challenge is, I have to mention that several years ago, I was teaching a class, and one of my students said, "How come you don't have any floor sweeps in your shop?" And I remember when I was in the Air Force shop or the Army shop in Hawaii, they had there's floor sweeps all over the place, for shoving the dust, and I don't know why I didn't think of that when I was originally designing it. So I had to add some floor sweeps, and that was a really big help to clean up the shop at the end of the day. It's so much easier. But the challenging thing for me is I wish I had about 3 or 4 roll around shop vacs, like either fine. I have one fine, and if I had unlimited funds, I would probably buy 2 or 3, and I think the best system out there is probably the Festool range. They have different sizes, but I'm always unplugging this thing and plugging it into small, like for the router tables. I have 2 router tables that I connect that to, and then I also use that same shop vac for my orbital sander. So I'm constantly changing that around, and that's kind of bothersome. So if I ever buy another tool, that's what I'm going to get, another
So now he just
shop
me
vac.
over.
So your dust collection is not in the main shop, it's in a separate space. Is that for noise?
Well, I thought it would be less
Or
noise,
Just
but
space?
it actually there's more noise inside the shop from the return air. You see, there's 2 pictures here. The return air is that system that's inside the shop, and that's where most of the noise comes from. You go in the tractor garage where the turbine is going,
Right.
and it's much quieter inside. And that was kind of a surprise, but I thought it would be the way to go.
Does your system, it doesn't separate dust from chips, does it?
Yeah,
It
has
does.
Yeah, it's got a cyclone. So the
I
chips,
see.
well, the sawdust and the big chips go into the big bin,
Right.
and the dust ends up in the filter.
Okay.
And I have to take care of both of those.
And so the middle image is shop, David?
Yes.
And that's a grizzly?
It's a grizzly dust collector. I don't know what the horsepower is.
Yeah.
No, this is one floor tool that I did not buy at the Grizzly Scratch and Dent sale. And it works. I have a garbage can cyclone chip collector, so the bag doesn't fill up too often. And I've arranged my tools so that they're organized in the shop via dust production. So the planer is the closest to the dust collector, followed by the table saw, and then I think a bandsaw. And then there's other tools on the other side of the shop that are far enough away that it doesn't actually collect any dust from them at all. But as far as the most important dust producers, the system works fine.
And Lauren has one tucked away in the corner.
I did not want to mess around with filters and filter bags. I've done that before, and it's a mess, and I hated it. I read up as much as I could on the conventional cyclones, that when they work well, I understand they work very well. That was another cost that I didn't want to mess with, or not mess with, but I would rather put that money towards something else. I found I still don't know how to pronounce his name, but Thien, Thien, or Thine, but anyway, he developed a kind of a cyclone, but it's not a funnel. And it's in the left, yeah, there it is. So that motor and fan is a Harbor Freight thing, Harbor Freight dust collector, and it has the filter. Well, forget the filter, forget the stand. and I bolted that to the wall, and then I have 4 dust ports that feed into that white barrel just below the motor. Yeah, you can see the ductwork on the left there. And the idea is that the dust and chips come in at 1,000,000 miles an hour into that white drum, and they're spinning around like this, and there's a disc below the top of the drum, and then as the dust and chips slow down, they fall into the bottom of the drum through a slot around the perimeter of that disc. And I thought, well, it's a big risk, it may not work, and it works much, much better than I thought it would. Probably not as good as what you guys have, but I don't clean filters and filter bags. A couple of times a year, I unclip the lower portion of the drum and drag it out into the workshop where I can, or onto the floor where I can get to it, and all of the stuff is in a trash bag. And I lift it up and it's gone, and then put another trash bag in and clip it back together. So I'm pleased with it. If I had space, time, and money, I might do something, do a better job of what this is. But that was the thing I was most worried about, the exhaust. I just cut a hole in the wall and ran the ductwork out. And I thought, oh my God, what if it spews dust all over the neighbor? And so I put kind of a screen wire cage around that exhaust that goes through the wall, just in case. And the only time that any chips or dust have come through the wall was when I accidentally sucked a rag through the dust collector, and it plugged up the collection drum, and it was spewing chips and dust out the side. And that was 2 years ago. Since then, nothing has gone out. Well, I can't say nothing, but nothing that you can see, or, it's undetectable.
I noticed when I was up visiting your shop, I think yours too, David, both of you have got ceiling air filters mounted. Any comments on those, on how you like them? Do they work? Are they worth it?
I couldn't live without it.
And you've got the smallest space, and I think you've got 2 of them side by side. Okay. Just good shopping.
All right.
I just use a box fan with a filter that I buy at hardware sales in front of it. Okay. And I think it probably looks okay.
Anybody else have those ceiling and the consensus? Everybody like them?
Yeah, they work.
Kind of. I think so. Yeah.
How many have a box fan set up?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a dust collection class here recently, and there's some discussion about putting your box fan below your equipment rather than above your equipment, because dust particles are heavier than air. So why do we always put our dust or our air filtration in the top? And so
Because that's where they told me to put it.
well, I mean that's where mine is, but I'm generally in agreement that dust particles are heavier than air.
Right?
Well, living in the Northwest, you know about the rain and the humidity that we have, especially, fall, winter, and spring. So what I have is I have a dehumidifier in my shop. It's just sits on the floor, and the air intake on that, I have a filter attached to it. So it acts like a dust or filter for the room. And the humidifier, the fan on it runs a fair amount of the time. And so, while I'm working and overnight, it helps clear the air.
All right. Okay. You guys want to go to a particular area? Paula? What would you like to talk about? I got wood storage. And after this, we're all going to go raid Jerry's shop for some wood. Yeah, the nice planks are over to the left. I guess one thing let's talk about as you process wood in small, medium, and large format. So let's say you get a lovely order for an Eden saw. How do you process your wood? And Lauren, I'm going to put words into your mouth, but obviously correct me if I'm wrong. But you probably don't store wood. You get exactly kind of what you need at the time you need it. Is that fair?
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I get whatever I can. I've got the sequoia sitting out in the garage. This is wood storage is probably the single biggest drawback to the small shop. I have, because I have open rafters, you can see I have wood up there, but there's a limit, a physical limit for me crawling up there. I don't like ladders.
Fair enough. Yep.
And then in the corner, well, you probably would have seen it in the other shot, in the corner around the dust collector, I have a bunch of wood stacked up there, and then use the garage. So, yeah, it's a problem.
Okay. David, how much wood do you store? Don't have necessarily a good shot of your storage.
I have racks on the ceiling where I have wood stored. I have 2 places where I store plywood, 3 places. The third place is Windsor plywood. If I can store my plywood at Windsor, it frees up a lot of space in my shop. This bench here holds benchtop tools, but you can see there is wood storage underneath of it, along with drawer boxes for other things. And so again, making multiple use of tables for multiple purposes. But I squirrel wood away in every space available.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, we're not going to talk about it.
The picture you see is my original wood storage area, and that didn't hold enough. So I built, I don't think we have a picture of this, I built a loft in my tractor garage, so
No, we don't have that.
it was
We don't?
above,
I thought we did.
It
No?
allows me to, I've got room for the tractor to get all the way in, and then I've got this loft area that I could, with a stairway up to it, and I was storing a lot of wood that I milled when I had a wood mill for drying, and
Yeah, we
then
Yeah.
I ran out of space there. Oh yeah, you do have a shot up. Well, now it's got a lot of the show equipment up there. But I've started to stack wood. I have a 12-foot ceiling, so I do a lot like George does, and stack stuff against the wall in one corner. Vertically, yeah. It's just, the boards are not too long, and I've got probably half of my wood doing that, standing vertically, and I've used, I guess I'm a wood hoarder. It's a compulsion.
This is a safe space, Jerry. You can,
I have a hard time throwing stuff away.
Oh,
Every
God.
once in a while, I'll say, "Oh my God, I gotta cull this," and so it goes into this box that I take when I go camping, and I'm burning maple and walnut chunks and cherry.
Don't make the audience cry.
Well, most of it's got cracks and knots and stuff. So
Oh no, not a crack. No.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where a lot of my wood ends up.
You need an intervention.
I posed a question to George Knudsen recently about, I noticed he's got a beautiful shop and most of his wood is vertically stored. And I always wondered the advantage of horizontal to vertical. And he gave me the most obvious answer. He said he got tired of needing always the board that was on the bottom of the pile. And if you store wood right horizontally, it does a nice job.
Some wood I had inherited from my dad. It was Douglas fir. It was very nice, finely grained. They had come out of some institutional type French window doors. So these are about 4.5 by 1 3/4, and he had them almost upright. And what I have found is, over the time, they acquired a curve, as you said, and that's a long-term problem with storing wood upright.
George, I asked George the same thing, and he said if you take the time to behind it build an angled surface, that they can't do just that. But it never be that simple answer.
The trick is, don't let it sit there so long.
There you go.
Build something.
That's a good answer too.
There you go. On the projection right now, we've got the storage aspect. And during dinner, Peter asked kind of how soon in a person's development in their shop did they make their tool chest? Was it one of the first things they made? Still, last thing? Gentlemen, if you'd like to kind of go over how that happened. And obviously, you know, maybe not obviously, but for Lauren, it's hard to dedicate that much space in your valuable square footage to even have a tool chest. But talk about how you store your tools. All three of you.
I have French cleats on all of the walls, and I made a whole bunch of odds and ends of shelves and racks to fit on the French cleats. And other tools that are less frequently used, I use milk crates, and they're usually down low because I don't get in and out of them that often. And that photo doesn't show it. And so in the development of my career, someday maybe I'll do what David and Jerry have done, but right now I'm using a whole bunch of what's it called? Not reused, but scrap, or not, pine boards that I acquired from a friend of mine who had a bookstore, and they were in storage. So it's not like I'm spending a lot of money or wasting trees and lumber to build the shelves and so forth.
But assuming, let's say, you know, you're at that point where building a tool chest wouldn't be a problem skill-wise, would you still build one because of how your shop is oriented and how you have to have it oriented?
If the term chest to me means I'm going to load it up in my car and go elsewhere.
Okay.
And that's not going to happen, probably. So I'll just rearrange all of my tools in the shop to fit my needs.
Okay.
So an actual chest, no.
Probably not.
I might build one for someone else.
Okay.
So all your items hang on French cleats, and so they're movable. You ever move them? You do.
Well, yes and no. The things I use most frequently, I keep at arm's reach. So my storage categories are arm's reach, one step, multiple steps, and up high. And so I kind of have this priority of where my tools go. So that photo there is just above my main workbench, and that's the arm reach. So those tools, or the shelves and racks, no, I don't move them that much. But the other ones that are steps away, yeah, depending on the project, I may move them around, or a couple of the shelves, like I have a shelf with various glues and adhesives in it, and I can just lift it off the wall and take it over to the table where I do messy stuff. And then when I'm finished with it, I just hang it back on the wall.
Cool. How did your tool chest come to be?
I first built my workbench, and then I built my tool chest. I'm going to be Professor Scholl now. I second built my tool chest just next to the bench. And each drawer, get that out of there. Each drawer here holds a different set of tools. So like this is my marking and measuring drawer. So I just pull it out, stick it on the bench, use my marking and measuring tools, and I can throw them back in the drawer without having to move any place, in theory. And then, like over here, we've got like carving tools and then rasps and files. And so depending upon what job I'm doing, I'll grab the appropriate drawer right out of the tool chest, stick it on my workbench, and then I just stick the whole thing back.
I did the same thing. I built my workbench first, and my dream was to make a tool chest where everything was, all the hand tools were within easy reach right there over my workbench. And then the secret is always put them back in the same spot. You know?
Technicalities.
I guess it's an old age thing, but I'm always leaving stuff around the shop. And the worst things, all my double squares and combination squares and rulers and those sorts of things, I use them and I lay them down and I forget where I laid them. So I recently built this drawer underneath my outfeed table, and that's where all my marking and measuring and tri-squares and all that stuff goes in there. And I'm gradually remembering to put them in that drawer, so I know where they are. Do we have a photo of that?
We do.
This is the latest, the latest innovation in my shop. What happened?
I don't know. Is it on? King?
No, that's not flat.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Try that again. Hang on.
It's probably in. Uh-oh.
I got it. It's coming. It's coming. Excuse me, I have to go all the way back to the beginning. There it is. Hey. Oh, come on. Oh, God. It's going to be too small otherwise. There you go. No, it's all the way to the bottom. We'll get there. All right, there we go. That's not me. That's not me. It's a. No? All right, we'll do this the hard way. There we go. All right. Yep. It's coming. It's coming. Hold on.
There's Jerry's drawer.
Outfeed table, and there's the measuring drawer, and that's helped me. That's helped me a lot.
All right. Yes, questions? I don't know who's first.
All these corded tools, what do you do with them?
Some of mine are underneath. I have two roll-around workbenches. One's at a normal height, same height as the outfeed table on the saw, and the other one is a little bit lower. But I've got room for some of those tools there. They're kind of scattered around the shop in different locations, but yeah, that's a problem.
I use,
You see on all the magazines about the dream shops, they've got all these beautiful little cabinets that they make for all their little power tools, and I've never gotten there. I just haven't had the time.
I use milk crates,
Where's
and
where's that picture? Oh, I'm sorry. You used-
other than they're stolen, it's, I guess, a good thing.
Where's the one with the, go back.
All right, hang on. I'm gonna go around the horses here.
They're killing us.
So I store my power tools where I use them. So I have a
There you
section
go.
on my outfeed table that isn't shown, but it doesn't matter. Where I've got my router table, and then I've got a cabinet for all my router bits, and all my routers go in little cubby holes right next to that spot. And over here, it was there, but now it's gone.
There you go.
I've got a drill press right there, and then all of my drilling supplies are in those drawers, or underneath the drill press in that little cabinet there. And then I've got hand drills. You can't see them, but they're just up there, right there. And so all of my drilling supplies are in that region. So that's what I do. I just store them right where I use them.
Okay.
I don't have any corded tools in the hand tool category. They're all battery, except for my shop vac. And I have a photo of or there should be a photo. I'm kind of like David from the standpoint of all of my drills. So there's another photo.
That area?
That area, except shooting or looking in the other direction. But all of the hand drills, bits, and stuff like that are located next to the drill press, just as a matter of convenience in reaching the bits. I have storage, drill bit storage and other stuff in a drawer underneath the drill press. And then the only powered hand tool I have is a circular saw, and it's the least frequently used item, so it's in a milk case underneath the bench because I just don't go there that often.
Do any of you guys have battery charging stations or dedicated places that I found those would be really handy? Again, if I put things away. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah. Okay.
I wanted to ask about tool acquisition strategy. So I understand that if you're talking about a tool that you think you're going to use a lot and own the rest of your life, then you buy the best tool that you can afford. But what about tools that you're not sure how much you're going to be able to use in the future or how often you'll use it, and the strategy of instead of getting the Festool, maybe you get the DeWalt, and then if you use that for a while and it's not good enough, then you sell that and trade up.
I do a lot of reading online and consumer reviews and stuff like that, and compare prices and decide, use that information to determine if I just get a lower performance tool. Don and I were talking about this just earlier this evening. Use it, see how I like it. If it doesn't work out, okay, so I lost $20 compared with $200.
Question here.
Is this worth it?
You seem to each have a concrete floor.
Something like
And Jerry, I see some areas of your shop have mats. If you each were to redesign your shop, thinking of just the floor and the time you spend standing on it, I mean, concrete's great for sweeping, but long-term, it's a little painful. What surface would you put down?
I do have mats by my table saw, on the other side of my outfeed table. My workbench is on a mat. So I do have mats around the places where I stand the most frequently. It would be great to design a shop with like electrical dust ducts in the floor or something like that. It would be really sweet, but I don't.
So one of the things we discussed at dinner, and I got the idea from George, and George got the idea from Greg, I think. But Home Depot sells a product called Dry Core. It is an OSB flooring, 2 foot by 2 foot, with a plastic underlayment underneath it. It basically goes on top of your concrete subfloor, interlocks together, and provides a lot more insulation and comfort, as you say, for standing on your cold heat sink or cold sink, as the case may be for most of us. And it really does make a difference. They have a higher end product, which I think is 11 or 12 bucks a tile that has a foam core as well. The ones they have currently at Home Depot just have the plastic vapor under. They're working really good, and I really like them. Those are $6.90 bucks a piece. Dry Core, D-R-I-C-O-R-E.
Yeah, got a question? Keep your hand off of it. Oh, question? Check.
Anyway, just at Costco last week.
Who knows?
And if you are familiar with stall mats in a horse stall, okay, they've got stall mats there for 30 bucks. I think they were about 3 by 4, 1 inch thick, super hard rubber. That got it's kind of dotted on one side and smooth on the other. So if you put the smooth side down or smooth side up, smooth do a sweep off. 30 bucks. Put it wherever you're working. It works pretty good.
It was on.
Yeah.
I have some of those soft mats as well, but I like the Dry Core material better, but I do both. So I have the Dry Core and then I have the foam mats on those. Yeah.
What about security?
All right, great question. Security, especially since we want to go visit Jerry's shop and get some wood. So, gentlemen,
Valid question.
Well, I have an alarm system.
How many
My
of us
wife
do we-
made me get it because, when I was an airline pilot, I was leaving her alone a lot. And so we just kept it. And it's in the shop, and it has a heat sensor in case you're in a smoke detector, and a motion sensor, and we have the same thing in the house. But I think the best thing is to find a piece of property way off the main road, like I did, and because hardly anybody comes out there, and they have to pass all my neighbors to get there. So I think that is the best thing I ever did for security, because I've heard, when it first moved to Washington from Texas, we were hearing all these stories about break-ins in the shops and people's property out in the county, but they never came down our road. So I don't know. I got lucky.
I have a 90-pound German Shepherd.
I'm a light sleeper, and the shop is right next to the bedroom window.
A shotgun? Wow.
Otherwise, I just have locks on the doors.
I have Orbi setup, so you can buy those at Costco and put your cameras in there, so any movement detection, noise that's picked up and recorded. Doesn't necessarily stop anybody, like a German Shepherd who's going to rip their arm off, but works. Great question. What else? Yeah. How do you heat your shop? How do you heat it?
I had the luxury of building it from scratch. And when the subject of the concrete floor, I have concrete floors. The good news is that, and I'll brag a little bit, I put in hydraulic heating in the floor, so it's insulated around the perimeter and underneath. And it costs more, but it'll pay back very fast. And the bad news is that the concrete, I primed it and painted it, and it gets dust on the floor, and it's like walking on ice. And I can't have mats on the floor because that inhibits the performance of the hydraulic heating.
I think there's some photos showing my heating systems. I have a couple of electric heaters, and I have this propane heater called a Big Buddy that's safe for indoors. And so when it gets really cold out,
Is that it?
Just there it is. That's my Big Buddy propane heater, and it works. We had taught a class, a dovetail class, when it was really cold.
Oh, it was.
And we had a tough time doing it. But then all you need to do is start hand planing or sawing, and you warm up really quick.
No. It wasn't enough.
I got warm.
Because that propane heater has an open flame, right?
Yes.
And you're good with that, I guess.
Yeah, I just keep it safely next to my oily rag pile.
Yeah,
And your joke pile.
yeah. I got a wood stove for two purposes. Number one, to be able to burn non-exotic, spalted, beautiful woods, just pine crap. But I use it for burning stuff off of that. But it also works really well for heating the shop during the winter. But I do find that the concrete floor is a problem, and the dry core has really helped that. And I have insulation in the walls as well. Jerry, I mean, the underlayment heating works great, except
What?
when you have a big ass shop like yours.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we designed our heating system for the house, we talked to him about the possibility of adding heat to the shop, and he said, "Well, that's easy. The boilers in the garage, we just run pipes underground into the hydronic system in the shop," and that sounded pretty good. But it's expensive, and if I had it to do over again, I would get a heat pump, multi-split. I might even put a multi-split in, because propane bills have been our worst thing. We finally got a solar system in, and then we bought a heat pump for the house, but so that's cutting back on our propane, but it's not an efficient way to heat the shop. And I have a separate thermometer or thermostat for the shop. It's its own zone, and it heats the office, the bathroom, and the shop. But I only set it in the winter about maybe the mid to upper 50s, and then as I'm working in the shop, the lights are on, that warms it up a little bit, and people who have taken my classes in the winter knows that you got to start out with a couple of layers, and then as it warms up, you'll be fine.
But obviously, there's certain benefits to having small shops that, heating wise and things of that nature make it a lot easier, that are not so great for larger shops, and that's a great example of that. All right, we got 10 minutes left before we're going to get everybody out of here. Last questions for the group. Yes? All right.
I built my shop, I designed my shop to have a finishing room. And then it became our bathroom. I mean, it was our bedroom. It was our bedroom when we were building the house. And then later on, it worked fine for small projects. But about the only time I really needed to spray, do a big project spraying, it had to be out in the main shop area. And so I had to go through this ritual of sweeping and vacuuming all the dust that might be around, turning on the dust collection system, sucking the air through the filter system, and then it still get dust on it. I remember doing this 10-foot dining room table, and it was just to get it just right. It took quite a few iterations, and then I still had to rub it out. But finishing for me now is all oil, wipe-on products, Levos, Osmo, the stuff I used to make the blend, and so you don't have to worry about dust. And so that really solved finishing for me. And I usually put things in my office area for a drying area because that room stays warmer. But it doesn't matter if I just leave it out on workbenches.
I use my outfeed table.
I use my outfeed table and I use wipe-on. So I don't have any dedicated finishing. Is beeswax and mineral oil and shellac. I'll wipe on the shellac and no spray or anything like that. I just don't want to mess with it.
I got it. I'm coming, boss.
Not a significant item, but for your corded tools, you got a place in your shop, place for a file cabinet. It sits about 4 or 5 drawers high. There's all kinds of file cabinets alongside the road now. People don't need them anymore, and they're great for tools and some magazines and stuff like that, especially the bigger tools. They're free.
That's a good tip. Thank you. Yeah. Here's a mic.
I did. It doesn't reach. It allows me to run cords from the end of it out to every part of my shop. It kind of gets a 180-degree arc in the middle. And I've got a couple of pictures on my cell phone. I can show you what I did. And I sent it in as an idea to Popular Woodworking, and they sent me a little bit of money, and then they did another article about building one to do the same thing in a very different way, and I'd recommend that to you too. I'll talk to you afterwards.
So one of the backhanded benefits of a small shop is you just plug it in the wall, leave the cord on the floor, and even the flexible duct for the dust collection. There's only 1 or 2 that I use regularly, and they're on the floor, and I just step over them. However, my shop vac, and there should be a photo of it. That's the one I was looking for. So my shop vac is about 50 years old, still works well, and the hose, I got an extra long hose for it, and the cord is about 1 mile long. Well, I didn't want to step over that. And so you can see the shop vac is on a little platform with casters, and the photo doesn't show it except way up at the top edge. I made a hanger, and it basically hangs over the horizontal web of the trusses, and I just loop. It's kind of like a garden hose, you know, one of those garden hose things, and I just loop the power cord and vacuum hose over that, and I can reach about half of the shop with the hoses still hanging up there and the wire, and then if I need to go to the other end, I just let them fall to the ground, and it works out very well compared with always having it in the way.
This is a different topic. I only say this because Peter Gant really wanted me to talk about this.
This is one of the cutest things you'll ever see.
Don't say cute.
Okay.
My outfeed table is a little more than 48 inches from the blade to the end of the outfeed table. So when you push a piece of plywood, if you're ripping it, it just sort of tips over just as it passes the blade. But what if you're ripping a long piece of wood? Well, I've got these little drawer boxes on my outfeed table. You can see one there that pulls out to the side, and this one pulls out to the end with little rolling pins. And so if you need a longer outfeed table, you just open the drawer, and I had some rolling pins that weren't being used by anybody, so I just adapted them to increase the size of the outfeed table. When I'm ripping a long board or when I'm cross-cutting a piece of plywood that needs more support out the end. So yes, the cute part of my shop.
One really.
Hey, it's not cute.
One really clever thing about it is that you see two notches in the pull-out drawer, and the rear notch that's not being used there is for storage, so that the drawer can slide underneath his outfeed table, and when he needs to use it, he simply puts it in his higher notch, and it's a great idea. Good work, David. It is adorable. Oh, nobody helps you like your friends.
All right. I'm going to bring this to a close. I'd like to have the audience thank our panelists. Thank you very much.
I think that was...
And a special thanks for Peter, who went to each of the shops and took multiple pictures and was able to get us this kind of look into and experience the three different shops. So thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. With that, let's bring it to an end. Thank you very much for joining, and you have a great evening.
Is this the mic? Your mics? Well, that was okay, huh?
And as usual, we need your help with chairs, please. Not that one. Yeah. Yes.
You know, I think in retrospect, we had...
Well, he was flipping back and forth.
Oh, okay. Full of wood. Nice. That's a good way to go if you got the land for it. That's an excellent way to go.
My kids have covered me now.
It works, man. As long as you have a space for it. That's awesome. There you go. It becomes a storage piece. They should all go the same direction, whichever direction you choose. We also need help with tables being folded up. was okay. We'll talk on the way back. Do these go on there, or where do these go?
Yeah, they were sitting on this and sitting outside, so.
So where are we going? Oh. Okay. Sure, I can make it available, yeah. You're interested in some of it? So all I'd have to send it in a PDF to you. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to do the slideshow, but you still see all the images.
That's what
Okay. Yeah, because it's so large now with all the images from all the different shops. It's like 350 megabytes. It won't go through email. But I have a PDF, and I'll do a PDF. How's that? Okay. All right.
Sounds great.
I'll make sure Chrissy gets that. I think she's already gone. Yeah, she's already gone. Oh yeah, her purse is there. Do you have your laptop here? Yes. Do you have a USB? I don't have my. Don't. I'm going to send you the PDF. There's a couple people that want it, so we'll put it into the. Yeah, and we'll put it in the minutes. Yeah. I can't give you the PowerPoint because it's just too massive. It's like 300 megabytes. Yeah, so I'll do the PDF at least.